Tried to hold us back, to hold us, tried to hold us back.
We will be here forever. Do you understand? Forever.
Hey, it's Shan here. This week I catch up with past guest, friend, skateboarder, prolific artist. It's Mr. Kane Horspool, aka Trait, if you know his artwork. I love Kane's artwork. It really deals with life and death, and there's a super authentic feel to it. Kane and I did a t-shirt collab a few years ago. He did a design for THT. It was so rad. Kane feels really connected to the Australian natural environment, so a lot of his artworks incorporate native Australian bird life. Kane has an art show coming up at the Bad News Gallery in Wollongong in May, and obviously he wants to promote that, but his perspective on why he's doing an art show is so different to actually like last time I spoke to him. He feels this real desire to move away from that capitalist model of, you know, having to strive for wealth and monetary success. For him, showing his artwork at a gallery is part of the process of letting go of those particular pieces. So they've been seen, he can now let them go and then move on to his next project. He really wants to move out of his comfort zone and progress, and I can see there's a lot of creative fire in him at the moment. He had a lot to say. He speaks really openly about his mental health struggles. He speaks really openly about his desire to be the best husband, father, and man he can be. And I loved all that stuff. And again, anyone that has the courage to be really open about that in a public forum, like respect. And I know there's other people out there who have that same desire. So I hope you find the inspiration in his words. I know I did. I felt super relaxed around Kane, and I always have since I've known him, because we grew up in the same sort of geographical area of Australia. It's the south coast of New South Wales. And I really feel like there's something to be said about that, because we've experienced the same seasons, the same, you know, weather patterns, temperatures, wind patterns. I don't know. You just feel more comfortable. I'm sure there's some sort of rational explanation to that, but anyway, enjoy getting to know Mr. Kane Horspool, aka Trait.
Tried to hold us back.
Get what I'm saying.
Tried to hold us. He tried to hold us vain. Tried to hold us back. For some fame.
Child of the crayon, child of the light, styles of the neon belong to a culture destined to rock for eons. Time doesn't exist. Shut those cataracts, capture the virtualist. Now let's get back to what makes things seem forever, whether it's unseen, unheard, or it's 16 again. Not a bother. Fill this old man river, kill a floor that gives all.
It's a dark art.
Dark art. Like, it's never perfected, right?
But like, what's my wife call it? Active listening is like the key to conversation, right? So if you can't do that active listening, you can't. Like, I have to really consciously think about it to actually have a conversation, because I'm shocking at small talk. I hate it. So it's like you have to be an active listener to create a conversation. So that's what you're doing.
Do you listen, or do you wait your turn to speak?
Well, that's what active listening is, right? You're listening, and it's asking more questions rather than just, I've got my point and I'm going to wait until you're finished talking, and then I'm going to say my point regardless of what you just said, which I'm pretty sure I've done a heap.
Even if the topic's changed.
100%. Yeah. I had a friend who was so bad at it. You could see that he wasn't listening, and you could literally say anything, and then he would just go back to what he was saying. You're like, did you just hear me say purple elephants? Like, you weren't listening.
Purple elephants. That's like, do you feel like people's attention spans are shorter than ever?
I mean, just from what I've seen, yeah. And I reckon that's in myself too. I think that's where I noticed it is in myself. Is you're just like something more than a minute. Yeah, you notice yourself wanting to wander, whereas before social media and all that, I would have sat with that a lot longer because there was less coming in. You know, if someone's talking about skateboarding, I don't listen for more than a minute if it was in 2010 or whatever, you know. Whereas now It has to be very like on point to what I am about. Like, oh, this is boring. But then at the same time, I hate that there's no one's making longer videos anymore. I love sitting down and watch it for an hour, or especially within art and mural art and everything. They condense all these movies and videos into like a minute, so it's good for social media. I'm like, why isn't someone just filming for a year and then put it out? Like Nitros, who's an artist from, I want to say Germany, he did it. Follow the White Rabbit. It's one of my favourite films. I've watched it like a bunch of times, and it's not even like my kind of style of art or anything, but just the long play. It's like, why aren't people doing that? Like, it's something I do want to do. It's just like compile footage for like a year and then make something like you would with a skate vid back in the day, right? But I think everyone's just too eager to get it out.
Why do you think they're too eager?
Well, I think you actually have to be. Like, it's something I've been thinking about, is that I'm shocking at social media. Like, even coming up with this exhibition, I'm like, all right, I need to start posting more. And I think I've posted less. Because if I've got something to show, I'll show it, but the algorithms are all screwed now, so no one's going to see it. You know what I mean?
What do you mean
like,
they're all screwed?
Well, like, if you're posting all the time, then the algorithm helps. I'm assuming, like, it helps you get seen more. And then people, you got to post at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, or like, I'm just going to post when I got it. And I don't use tags or any of that kind of stuff. So, it doesn't get seen as much. And so, unfortunately, I think people are kind of regurgitating a lot of short stuff straight away rather than like quantity over quality.
Do you think it's also a fear of becoming irrelevant?
Maybe. I can't speak for other people.
Do you have it? What about for yourself?
For myself, no, like my thing now is just I'm only competing against myself. Like it's it's something I've been kind of working with. It's probably since like the pandemic really started focusing on it, and that it's one thing that I always say I look forward to growing older and getting better at art. You know, like, we were talking about skating just before and how much longer we've got and everything. But I think as long as I keep myself healthy, I'm going to be able to paint until maybe 70, you know, arthritis, who knows what gets me. But I look at the artwork I was making 10 years ago and it was terrible. That painting behind me, I've actually repainted that. So I thought it was finished. I rolled it out. It had been rolled up in canvas for a year. Put it out and went, this is terrible, because I've progressed so much within a year. So I've actually painted over, like it's pretty much finished now, but I repainted it. So if you think about what you were doing, especially in art, or like what we're talking about in podcasting, if you listen to a podcast that you did a year ago, you're probably like, oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just about progression for myself and making myself the only audience member that matters. If that makes sense. So like you don't paint for anyone but yourself. If you don't enjoy it, then I'm pretty sure we talked about this the last one.
Did we?
Maybe. I'm having deja vu.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it's something I've been trying to work at. And then I read Rick Rubin's book and I was like, oh, okay, it's all written down here, right? It's exactly what he's kind of.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was talking to someone about it and they said like, it's not like it's anything new. It's something I already knew, but it's cemented those ideas and pushed it even further. Yeah, and gave it clarity. Yeah, you take the audience, just take the audience out of it. That's the last thing you think about it. Once you've finished the artwork, then you work out where's this going, what's it for.
Wow, interesting. Because I've been asking myself some big picture questions about the podcast, for example.
Yeah.
And why I do it and what the purpose is. And because it's a time investment.
Yeah.
And that's a very important commodity, right?
Yep.
And I wanted to get my values with it right. And I guess I came to the conclusion that it has got a greater purpose for me in various ways. I won't go into it, but one thing I did stop doing was I stopped looking at the stats. So I don't look at I don't look at the numbers anymore.
Yeah, good.
It's funny that you brought that up again. And it's funny, since I've stopped looking at the numbers, this has become a much more pure process for me, and also much more fulfilling. Doesn't feel like, sometimes it can feel like a bit of a job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've got to chase these numbers, but
It's more enjoyable now.
Yeah. And I think, ironically, for me personally, like I'm becoming more satisfied with the quality.
Yeah.
And I guess it lines up with what you're saying.
Yeah. And do you find as well that if you're looking at the stats and the numbers, you'd be like, oh, those podcasts did really well. I need to do more of those. Like, even if you did it subconsciously. And that's where, especially in art, I was stuck for a long time. And I still have the sensors on and I have to take the sensor off. Where it's like, oh, they're not going to like that, or will people like that, or is this, can you do it? And it's just like, no, get rid of that. And I remember specifically, I had this idea and it was about, actually I haven't made the artwork yet. Stuff it.
Go.
It was a fox holding a human hand in its mouth. I just had this image and I was like, oh, but you can't paint that. I was like, no, hang on. Why? Why can't I? Because the audience at the time that were liking my work wouldn't have, or I perceived wouldn't like that kind of more gory imagery. But the funny thing is once I took those sensors off and really started painting my own stuff, more skulls and, ravens and snakes and all this kind of like imagery and stuff that I really enjoy, you find that people do love that stuff, and the people that are actually more in tune with you enjoy it, rather than like all the time when you're painting a mural, people will come and go, I like your stuff, but I don't like that graffiti, like that kind of crowd. And that's what when we're talking about murals, like your briefs and everything, you're really watering down your art to get it over the line and get it approved and to get it on the wall. And so it's really watered down. You can't paint a raven or a skull on a public mural. You're not going to get that over the line. And so then it starts getting into your head that that's what you're meant, you can't do that. But then you're like, look at all the artists I love. Like, that's what they're doing. Look at everyone's tattoos. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a raven on my arm. I'm allowed to walk around with that on my arm, but I'm not allowed to paint it on a wall. But you can. It's just that it's not, you've got to find the wall. You've got to do the work yourself. Yeah,
what do you mean you got to do the work yourself?
Like, you got to find your own wall.
Okay.
Or you got to find other ways to do it. So
sacrifice money?
Yeah. So not look at it, because if you do like a council mural specifically, a lot of the time it'll be sometimes it's to prevent graffiti. Sometimes it's to to like brighten up. I'm trying to think of the actual words they were saying in the brief, like, is to engage the community. And they have these just same things that are in every brief to try and get it on the wall. And you'll get paid like pretty good money for it. And it justifies doing it. You get, it's good coin. But if you go and paint a wall by yourself, it is going to cost you. So you got to try and find other ways to monetize it. Just even if it's just in a way of paying for your paint. Because at the end of the day, the time I'm going to go paint up the skate park anyway. If you give me a wall, that's awesome. And I did one with Aisle 6 recently. They gave us a wall, and then they did a T-shirt screen printing for me. So it's kind of like that in kind, and also it garnered like a great relationship I have now with Shan and those guys. Like
a trade.
Yeah, that's right, old school trade. But that wall's there, so I took photos of it and everything and filmed bits of it. So there's still options to do stuff with it later, but it's just, you just got to think differently. But getting that image out of my head and onto a wall, that's the best feeling in the world, is like, because it's something I was really passionate about. It wasn't watered down. It was a pretty dark image. Like, it's not bright and colourful. It's basically all grey with bit of red. So being able to do that kind of stuff is pretty special.
Was it outside of your comfort zone?
No. Like, if anything, it's more, because you don't have to like worry about all there being negative space or, I don't know.
So you felt like it was within your technical abilities? Oh,
yeah, 100%.
Okay, so that wasn't the concern.
No, it's more the...
Was it less identifiable as a trait, for example?
I don't know. You'd have to ask other people. No, I think it's still like birds and the same elements.
You knew
and
it was.
everything.
You still knew it was identifiable as your work.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't fully out there. Like it wasn't. Like this. If I go up to the skate park, I'll just paint a skull.
I was going to ask you this, like death, and it was something I had jotted down. Like, it seems like death is quite a common theme.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Luke OK, he pointed out to me one day. He's like, "Your work deals with life and death." I was like, "Oh." And
that wasn't conscious?
No, that was completely subconscious, but now it's conscious. And so I do like to bring in those elements. Like I'm going to do a mural next week, hopefully, and it has, a bird skull as well as feathers and a flower, and, it is that kind of life and death. And it was completely unconscious, but it's like, all right, that I kind of enjoy that now. Yeah.
You work full time as well.
Yeah.
Now that means stable income.
Yep.
And, supporting a family, it's very necessary. And a lot of artists sacrifice that stability. Do you find it gives you an element of freedom with your artwork? Because
100%.
You can say no to jobs.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've been focusing on a lot lately is that do I really need to justify making money from art? And especially the new looking in on what I've been doing lately and like reading Rick Rubin's book and all of that. It's about the self-discovery as an artist. Like that's what's most important. And what is more important to me is to become the best artist I can be rather than make a living off it. Make a living off it. It would be cool to like work on constructive stuff every day and different projects. And I have a million ideas in my head and it's so frustrating because I know I'll never be able to put them out. But then at the same time, it's like I also enjoy the work I do. And it also comes into the artwork. The conservation work that I've been doing for 20 years is part of the artwork. So
it's a form of inspiration.
Yeah. If I was in this studio 3 days a week and maybe painting a mural every second week or whatever, I'd miss it. If I was in the studio every day, I'd go mental.
Yeah.
Even though it's like my own little space and I can play my own music and I'm surrounded by it, I was
going to ask you that, like, does the full-time work detract away from your creative energy?
It does.
Because there's a physical element to what you do.
Yeah, and especially with kids and everything. So, it's a physical job, which I enjoy. I don't like being in an office. But, yeah, by the time the kids go to bed and then have like an hour to paint at night, and there's some days where it's just like, I'm just going to have some ice cream and sit on the couch.
So you've told me in the past that you try to draw something every single day.
Yeah, I do. And I've also not put as much a burden on myself as well now.
Yeah.
I remember saying that because it is one of those things like you're making a rule. You give yourself a bit of freedom. If you don't feel like drawing, don't draw. If you're on the phone to someone and there's a pen and a pad in front of you, I'm going to doodle. Like it's just natural. I'm terrible in meetings because I'm not paying attention because I'm just drawing. I've gotten a few funny looks off the bosses and stuff sometimes, especially when you start getting into something. But that's the thing. Like if I don't feel like drawing, then I'm not going to beat myself up about it. But then also, as I remember saying on the last podcast, was there is times when I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and it's like, there's so many different elements I have though. So I've got like bigger paintings I can do them behind me. I've also got a drawing I'm working on in one of those drawers, and then I've also got compositions that I muck around on Photoshop. So I can say, okay, I don't feel like drawing. I'm just going to go muck around in the compositions, and I do enjoy that stuff. But yeah, so and as I said on the other podcast, is sometimes like, okay, I'll just go do 5 minutes, or I'll just go and do some scribbles. And an hour later, you're like, oh shit, I got to go to bed. So there is little tricks to get you going, or even sometimes like, oh, I've got a cool podcast to listen to or an audio book. I'm just going to go put that on
while you draw.
Yeah, or just hang out. Sometimes I'll just pick up an art book or a skate mag and I'll just flick through that. And it's still, I think, as I was saying, taking those rules off, it's like I still see that as being, it's part of the practice and the process because it's still all part of the craft that inspires me. So I can come out here and look for an old skate mag for half an hour and not even draw, but still feel like I'm being creative, which is weird in a way. But
It's like formulating ideas.
not even formulating
consciously or
ideas, but just
subconscious?
this is why I do it, right? Because the other side, like you said, like come down where I live, like it's beautiful down, I love living here. But I'm also separated away from the culture and everything. Like majority of my friends are in Wollongong. The art scene that I really love is in Wollongong. I don't really get up there as much. You do feel very isolated. But I can pick up a Thrasher mag and feel, oh no, this is what I'm part of. Like that's probably not the best way to say it.
No,
but
I get it. Like it reminds you, like it grounds you.
it grounds you, yeah.
Okay.
100%. Because you can be surrounded by the white picket fences and all that, right? And all the keeping up with the Joneses bullshit that you get in Kiama.
Keeping up with the Jones Beaches.
Joneses beaches.
Sorry.
But I've always said like I've never really fit in Kiama, but I love the place and I've got amazing friends. I'm not going to cry and go, oh, no one like, no, it's just, I've just always been a little bit different. And that's what attracted me to skating. And then I found Kiama Skate Park. I'm like, oh, there's all these other misfits that live in the same fucking town I do. This is amazing. You know? So that's what got me. I've always drawn since a kid, but once I found skating, that's what really got those creative gears going. And it was skateboarders that introduced me to graffiti and to street art and stencils and all that shit.
Graphics on skateboards?
And then I reckon I 100%. Like I still remember the graphic on my first skateboard. You know, I can see. I don't even know what the board was. It was some weird no-name board, but I can see the freaking graphic. You know, so. But it wasn't one of those things like I've heard other graphics. Like I walked into the skate shop and I was just here. Like it wasn't as that for me. But I do remember going into the skate shop and then there was graffiti mags and there was like it was everything in one. You know, it's just like, oh my God, this place is so fucking cool. Like, yeah, it just got me fired.
Can you describe that artwork that's behind you directly for the listeners? Because this is an audio-only podcast.
Yeah.
Can you just like give a visual description?
Yeah, so the one behind me, like if I was just to give a basic description, it's a hand holding what I believe is a child's skull with 3 birthday candles coming out of the skull. So that piece, I actually found the image first. A lot of the time I just find a photo or I find something like, and I'm just like, oh, that's fucking epic.
Is it a photo?
Yeah, it's a photo. So it's actually, I believe it's Cambodia. So Pol Pot and, you know, with basically the genocide of, well, not genocide, sorry, because they weren't wiping out a race, but
it was an attempted genocide.
well, it was well, they weren't wiping out a race, but they almost did. But yeah, the Pol Pot regime. And there's just those, they just got all the skulls because they try to, so the next generation doesn't forget about it. But anyway, I was reading about it in a magazine or something, and I saw that image, and as soon as I saw that image, I was like, and I was painting a lot of hands at the time. I was just like, fuck, that's insane. And then I got the idea. I was like, oh, it almost looks like he's holding a birthday cake. And so then, that was the idea, and it sat as a sketch in my book for.
And potentially that's a 3-year-old skull size.
Yeah.
To add to the reality of it.
That's it. Yeah. So that makes it a lot heavier kind of thing. Yeah.
Is that for sale?
Yeah. Everything will be for sale.
So that will be included in your upcoming art show?
Yeah. Well, if it makes the cut.
Oh, right. Like, have you got an abundance of work? Like,
yeah, I've got a fair few here. And I've also got larger pieces. So the space isn't that big, but that's kind of cool in a way, is that I'm going to just take a heap of stuff up, throw it on the wall, see what works. If it doesn't work, roll it back up and use it again later. You know, like I don't have to like use it right then and there. And because selling the work isn't the goal, it doesn't bother me. I'd rather it just look. I remember that saying to a friend, like I'd rather just put works on the wall and then like sit in the floor in the middle and just drink a 6-pack by myself and stare at them, you know. But I'm not drinking now, so I'll just drink a couple of zeros and eat some ice cream and just sit there and just look at it myself, you know, because that's, for me, that's the bit I love about exhibiting work, is seeing it up on the wall.
So I was going to ask, so why are you doing it? Well, is that the primary purpose? You're just feeling compelled at the moment?
Yeah, I enjoy creating things. I enjoy working on projects, and so it's making a solo exhibition is almost like I see it as like a stepping stone. It's like the first solo exhibition I made. I really liked some of the works I made. No one turned up. No one didn't sell anything, but things came out of that progressed forward. Had a couple other little things, and then the last kind of big solo show went really well, sold a lot of works, but I wasn't happy with the work. It was that thing where it was a very kind of dumbed down PG, you know? So for me, it's like it's just that building blocks or stepping stones is like the next thing is about.
Were you trying to conform a little in that one?
I think so,
because
yeah.
you're like, oh, this will be
I was
more,
painting a lot of murals at the time, and I was getting...
it's more palatable.
Yeah.
It might sell more.
Yeah. And so as the people who enjoyed the murals, they came to the exhibition and they bought the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, which is, if you were to be a commercial artist, that's like, that's successful. But it didn't feel right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this time,
I'd rather have no red dots and no sold artworks, but look at the work and go, this is me, 100%, you know, like, this is a part of me that I'm putting out there. And to be honest, I reckon I'll still be like, nah, I still held back. I think there's not quite, there's a couple of pieces where I'm like super pumped on.
Yep.
And then there's a couple where I'm like, oh, that's an interesting, like, start. There's a start there.
Okay.
You know, you keep following that.
You go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was just watching that Guy Ritchie TV series, The Gentleman. So obviously
Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, so he made the movie The Gentleman, and now he's made a TV series. But obviously because he just had so many fucking ideas, and he was like, oh, I can go further with this.
Oh, is it worth watching?
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
I've never seen it.
I only watched the first episode last night. But I appreciate that so much because it's like, as an artist, you're like, you make a painting once, and it's like, you're not supposed to do it again, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like a musician, they have a great song. They get to play that one song they can redo it in different ways or whatever. But as an artist, you're like, you made that painting, that idea, that's it, walk away. It's like, no, I don't want to do it. I want to keep delving in and just have,
see where it takes you.
Yeah. Have another go at it.
Because you've been doing art for so long, do you feel like you've developed an intuitive sense as to when to let it go? When to let an idea go, or when you know that an actual piece is complete?
Oh, there's a saying in art that
do you know what I mean?
An artwork's never finished; it's abandoned, because you can just keep going. You can just keep, and especially the way I paint, I could just keep fiddling for ages. And you got to step back and go, you know, those brush strokes that you've been working on for the last 20 minutes, you can't even see it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But in terms of ideas, and that's hard. Like, I don't know if I've ever walked away from an idea and go, I'm never going to do that again. There's definitely projects and things I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again. But an idea, I'd have to think about that for a while. I'm going to ponder on that.
Do you get attached to the piece?
Yeah, I do, but I don't. I've never had, I know some artists have had trouble with like letting stuff go, like selling work, putting it for sale. I've had friends who make amazing work and you put them in a group show and they're like, oh no, I can't, it's not for sale. Like, but what are you going to do with it? Like, just let it go. I'm happy with letting it go. And even if it doesn't sell, I'm happy with, like, I've got paintings in this show. There's another painting underneath it. I'll just paint over the top. Once it's done, once it's shown, once it's out in the world, it's free. I've let it go. I could throw it on the fire if I was cold and I needed burn it. Like, it's a waste of raw material, but but
that's gnarly.
Yeah. I've definitely got pieces in this show that there's another painting underneath. Yeah, because it's like, hey, that's a good wood canvas. Just sand it down, paint it, and go again. Like,
yeah, I know a guy in Bali he's a Californian artist. He lives there. He does this dot artwork, very similar to Australian Indigenous art, but he's from California. And when he first started doing the dots, he may have been influenced, but not realised that he was.
Yeah, right.
And then it wasn't until he started doing it, one of his art teachers goes, "That's like Australian Indigenous art." And he's like, "Oh wow," you know. So and he was obsessed with it. But he took it to another level. He's got a yoga background, and you know he goes into this deep state of meditation, folds his legs so he loses circulation to his legs, so all the blood is in his upper body, and does these really refined dots. We're talking, you know, thousands, and no two dots ever touch. You know, and we're talking about it, and then he, you know, from what I understand, I mean, I see them; they're profound when you see them in real life, but and in demand a little bit, but. he's made mention to how he just becomes so attached to the piece because he works on them. He has one piece he's worked on for 4 years. And I'm like, I don't know how good that, like this is why, I'm going to ask you this, like, is this why some artists become like tortured artists? Because of that attachment?
Oh, I think there's a lot of other things there.
Like what?
Yeah. I mean, straight off, I think the tortured artist thing it goes deeper than that. That as children, we're taught to do art and play and everything, and then that's kind of beaten out of you by society, and that no, that's what kids do. And so the artists are constantly justifying to themselves that you are allowed to go and play.
Yeah.
You can go and play and just create and be yourself. That's my understanding of the tortured artist, is someone who's trying to live inside a modern society and be a creative soul, which is really difficult. But then that's my tortured artist. You know, theirs could be anything, right? So, yeah.
Aside from obviously aesthetic beauty, what else do you think art brings to a society?
Well, man, that's an interesting one, because that's another one I think about all the time, is like, if you really took society down and what is actually necessary, does art come into that, you know? But I have seen the positivity that art can bring, especially like the mural projects and even graffiti for me.
Positivity
like,
in what way though?
Well, for me, I see it, it gets me, it fills my cup, it makes my day when I see like an awesome piece. Actually, we were just in Orange visiting my relos, and I come across a mural there, artist I found out later I have heard of her. But that mural it got me so much. And these days, like, as we were saying before, like a lot of murals don't really jump out.
It got you in what way? Like,
It inspired me, yeah, super inspiring, and just, I was staring at it and just got right up close, looking at all the mark making, and I guess I'm looking at it from another creative, but I also know that from what, you know, especially when you're painting mural festivals, and that's one of the greatest things about painting murals, is you're in the public. You're not in the studio painting by yourself. You're literally, people are watching you paint, and they will just come up and tell you how great it is and then you'll hear afterwards, like, oh, I love that mural. I walk past it every day. It feels like I love it. And you can see that it makes their day better. Is it necessary in society? Like, I don't know. But I think creativity is 100% necessary. Like,
yeah, I mean, I look at some of your earlier work, there's political undertones, you know, like I often think of that one, and you made it to a sticker and you gave me the sticker. I think I stuck it on my bag, on my podcast case, and it's the raven standing on the Australian newspaper. I mean, for me personally, like what I feel like an art piece like that does for society is that it's opening up broader conversations. Yeah. You know, because I look at that and like, oh, what's this symbolizing? Is this symbolizing the dark side of the media and how they perpetuate fake, false information or bias agendas, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, are these things you're considering?
Yeah, well, to be honest, stuff like that is it's more a release for myself. Is to get it out, that kind of anger. Like I was, anger and frustration. Like I was brought up on kind of left-wing politics, and then I took on like kind of left-wing revolutionary politics, and so once you start becoming quite conscious of, from a young age, I was reading, you know, John Pilger and Nelson Mandela books and stuff. So you read about all the injustices and it makes you very angry. And my work was a lot more, actually the earlier stencil art stuff before I started exhibiting was quite confronting and full on, because it was just a release of this young 20-something angst, you know. And now it's still a release, but I think then it was like, you know, like say something like what's happening in Palestine, I would be like, oh, I have to make an artwork about this. Whereas now it's like, no, just let it, it'll ooze through, it'll come through. Don't force it. Because I think then I thought I was educating people. Like I'll paint this like stencil and people will know about what's happening because you're kind of naive.
And you're going to make social change?
Yeah, I think I had, you know, but I think as an artist, that's not your job. Your job is to comment and, you know, it depends. Like, so I really love hip hop, grew up on hip hop, and one thing I'm very jealous of them is that, you know, listen to someone like Sage Francis or Brother Ali or like Black Thought or Briggs, they can tell a whole story. They can bring a lot of information to a song. You can't really do that in an artwork. You can't dictate to people, you know, you can only bring a feeling.
Okay.
But that feeling can still be quite strong. You know, if you look at those Gaza Unmuted artworks that people are painting, but that's really powerful. That can stir emotion, and I think that's what it's about. And it's also that thing of, you know, somebody paints something that brings that emotion, but it also makes you feel like, oh, you're part of that, or there's other people who feel the same as I do. You know, I'm not alone in those thoughts. You know, so I think it's more that kind of stuff. Whereas, I mean, I guess you look at Scotty Marsh's murals, and he can kind of bring a bit more than just emotion. He can yeah, he's sometimes he probably does sway people's opinion on some of the stuff he does, but it's quite hard, I think.
I just like how it opens up conversations.
Yeah.
With people that may be reluctant to have certain conversations, especially when it is delicate, you know, like some of the things you just mentioned. Or people that want to sit on the fence and be complicit. I think it can compel them to maybe take a stand on something as well and inspire that.
Yeah.
I mean,
think
art's
so.
done that forever.
I think so. And I said, you got to look at it in all different contexts. I mean, look at the murals painted on the wall in Palestine, you know, like, or if you look at stuff like, you know, not to rave on, like, you know, Banksy's done in the past. I do know, like, the bird panels that I did on Town Hall, I repainted them.
Oh, you did?
And I always get comments from people about the one that has the rainbow flag on it.
Yeah. Was that wrapped in the falcon? No.
I think that's a seagull.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
It is
because I originally did them as like an ode to protesters, and they said they were faded and they wanted me just to repaint them, basically just touch up the paint. I'm like, no, I'm going to redo the whole thing. And so they were still an ode to protest, but they were kind of like different protests. There's like Lock the Gate, and there's like the umbrella protest from Hong Kong, and you know, they do have there's different symbolism. So then just putting in the, you know, the gay pride flag, that was just kind of a different protest or a different element. But I get a lot of people commenting on that one especially, and it's very humbling to feel that you have actually inspired people in their struggle. You know, I'm an ally and I'll do what I can, but it's their struggle, you know, and so it's great to be able to maybe contribute in a tiny way, you know what I mean? Like, so that feeling, it's like that, almost like the gift of giving, like, that feels great, you know?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. That's so good.
In a way, that's a kind of like that release, you know? Like
being of service in some way.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
That's rad.
Haven't thought of it that way, but yeah.
Did you get to the Banksy exhibition in Sydney recently?
No, I didn't. I forgot about that one.
Okay.
To be honest, like, I grew up, especially when I was doing stencils, like, I've got his book there, Wall and Pieces somewhere. Massive fan, but it's that kind of Tony Hawk factor that it's like there's a lot of people doing amazing stuff, but he was the name that everyone knows. It's a kind of like, you know, when you, as a skateboarder, like, people are like, oh, do you know Tony Hawk? Like, now it's like you know, Nigel Houston.
It's the
like,
one artist.
It's the one they know, right?
It's the one skateboarder. It's the one.
Yeah. It's the one.
Banksy is that guy.
The one street artist they know. So,
but I'm not as familiar with the art world as I am with skateboarding world. Did Banksy break down a lot of walls and open the gates for artists?
There was a lot of people at that time doing it.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the best doing it, and he was really pushing it. And what he was making was kind of like easily understood, you know?
Gotcha.
Whereas there was a lot of people like Shepard Fairley who was leaning a lot on kind of like the pop art and repetition that comes from graffiti and stuff like that. And, you know, like D-Face, and, you know, there's so many swoon doing their own things. But his was kind of like easy to understand. And also he did go big. Like, he went everywhere. Like, it was insane.
But there's no like hate. It's just...
No. I mean, I'm sure there is. Like, I'm sure there's toes that he's trod on along the way. But yeah, it's just one of those things that everyone kind of brings up. But, you know, I still occasionally get the book out and flick through it and get inspired. But I think artistically he hasn't really evolved.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you look at some of the other people from that era, like people I mentioned, like Deface and Swoon, and you look at what they're doing now, and they've just evolved so far.
Have they?
Yeah, and then you look at like Australian guys like Roan. Like Roan was starting off doing stencils, and then look at him now. Like it's just insane painting the inside of like complete buildings and just going next level. You know, like yeah.
Recently, you were a featured artist in the Wonderwalls mural festival.
Yeah.
There was no competition element to that, was there? Is there?
Competition,
Like,
what do you mean?
well, the murals aren't like voted upon. Like
No.
So can you give us some background as to what it's about and how you got involved?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was his 11th year running. So big shout out to Simon Grant. What I think he's done with the Mural Festival in Wollongong is really, I always say, with Wonderwalls and Yours and Ours, has just progressed the creative culture in Wollongong and put it on a map in a way.
Yeah.
Like Wollongong has some world-class mural artists. Wollongong and Port Kembla now, murals. Like that's insane. You can walk around Wollongong and see like, and I still trip walking, oh yeah, there's a Guido just there. You know what I mean? Got a couple of smugs, like I was saying before, Case McLean, and I could just go on and on about some of the big names. And that's amazing that it's been running for so long, bringing something. So yeah, I was on it. I'm gonna have a look. 2013.
Dude.
So that was very early
like 11
on.
years ago.
Yeah. So it was 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Right.
So it was awesome to get back in, to get on it. And so it's just like a kind of honor to be asked to paint in a festival like that has so much recognition, not just here, but internationally as well.
Yeah. Can you explain the significance of the growth of these kind of things to an area such as Wollongong? So for those that aren't aware, like this isn't like a big city. It's not an inner city space.
No.
It's relatively small population. So can you explain why it's significant to the area then?
Well, the mural festivals are actually easier to put on in a smaller city.
Are they?
Yeah, so Melbourne's only just had its first ever mural festival. What? Sydney had one at Cockatoo Island so long ago.
Oh, I thought that was like a regular up there.
It's kind of like they definitely would do things, but it's harder to do in a bigger city. So that's why regional cities tend to have them, because it's kind of easier to get it done and for people to walk around and it to be, and logistically, man, like you got scissor lifts and people in and out. Like it's hard enough to organise one wall in a city, let alone multiple at the same time. And that's why Port Kembla is great, because there's so much space and there's, there's so many walls and you can get it done.
And there's like permissions you got to get. There's all sorts of legalities, right?
100%. And there'd be way more. Like Simon would be a lot better to talk about it. But also, Wonderwalls was one of the earlier mural festivals when it just got started. So there, I think Cockatoo Island might have been just before it, but there wasn't many. And so it was kind of one of the first, they were kind of breaking ground in a way. And especially if you look at the first year, the artists they had on it were just insane. Like the lineup was just next level. And then it just kept getting better and better and better. So that, I think what he's done is not just amazing for the area, but also helped that kind of mural festival scene. Okay. And now there's a mural festival in pretty much every kind of regional, larger town, city, throughout the world, not just Australia. Like it's insane how many there are that just become a staple because it's such an interesting way to engage the population, not just at the time, but the murals are there. So, as I said, you can still wander through Wollongong and see murals that were painted 10 years ago. Like, 10 years on, like, and just, they're still there. They're still, they're still good. Engaging. Okay, like some of them have been, but like, you look at Roan's one across from, I don't know, town. His Amigo still there. I don't know, but that was
Describe
one of his.
Is it a girl's face?
Yeah, it's a girl's face. But that was also one of his. He was just starting to get out of stencils and starting to go big. So I think that was like at the time that was his biggest wall.
Gotcha.
So there was him just getting kind of started on that, And then, yeah, it's still there. And that was from the first
Yeah,
Wonderwall.
it's like a girl's face with like big red hair from memory.
Oh, big red lips.
Big red lips.
Yeah. I remember him like painting it with brooms and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just spins me out how accurate they get some of those portraits on a big wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a process to that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
When I say accurate in terms of like the dimensions.
Yeah, perspective. So there's actually
is that what you call it? Perspective? Yeah.
So like Roan kind of broke down a lot of that before people were gridding up. So like you would do you probably did it at school, you did the grids and then you do on a big, and I remember doing grids and I suck at maths and I hated trying to work out how many. Okay, so I got 8 squares on my A4 sheet of paper. How do I get 8 squares on this 30-meter wall kind of thing? Yeah. Whereas he came up with a process where people call it chicken scratches or roning, and you basically just do heaps of just little marks all over the wall, take a photo of it, and on your phone or on your computer, you overlay your image over the top of that photo and you drop the opacity so you can see all those little marks all over the wall in your image.
To get the perspective. Right.
So then now you lift up. So say,
so
I know some people will do
weird, wonky eye.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I know some people will do like ABC, like, and I just do a bunch of scribbles. So, it's like, okay, from this X to this squiggle over here is this line between the eye. And
okay. You're not like a purist who's against the use of technology in that kind of art.
No, I mean, there's definitely people out who hate on people using projectors and say, it's cheating. But I think you're actually making it harder for yourself because you have to go and project at night. You got to have extension cords and you got to bring in all this crap, whereas I just need my phone.
Wow.
And
and you're just like holding your phone going, that looks about right.
So,
you've marked up your chicken scratches and lined it up. So okay.
So it's just on my phone, and then I just.
What about the use of AI in art?
Yeah, a lot of people are really worried about that, but again, I think that's like a commercial thing, right? So, I remember someone posted an artist on you, and she posted the thing that said like it was obviously the conversation between her and a client. And it said, we're just going to put a hold on it because we're exploring the prospect of using AI, and she's like, I'm not scared, you're scared. But I think AI has a long way to go before it can compete with an artist, like a true artist. And there's definitely been used. There was a classic that came out. There was a bank ad with the skateboard. You see that? And the trucks are sideways. It's the best, man.
Because I messed it up.
Yeah, but no one checked that. It's so good. But in terms of a mural, like, how is that going to work?
Well, what in terms of like developing concept ideas?
I remember I tried because I do muck around with what I'm dealing with, So I've got this idea, say it has like a water bird in a certain position, So I actually was like, I'm going to have a go at this AI and just have a play. And so I was like, I want a heron with its beak open. I think that's all I wrote. And the things I got back are just so absurd. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Yeah. I'll just have to keep doing it the way I do it, which I enjoy. I was just more having a look to see I think it's like the projector thing. Okay. It's more work than just doing it the traditional way.
No shortcuts.
You're actually making it harder for yourself. But I've got a quote on the wall there that a mate wrote.
Art is what you...
No, it's not that one. Art is what you get away with. I think that's a Warhol one.
Yeah.
But there's no cheating in art.
Cheating in art.
I think that's the quote. Like, and it's true. Like, you could look at what Warhol did and just took a Campbell's soup can and just screen printed it. It's like, but you're missing it. You're missing the idea he took something every day and turned it into something iconic.
My friend who was an art teacher at my first ever teaching job said to me, art is a certain style of art is like art is you saying I could have done that but you didn't.
Yeah,
I was like, that's cool. Have you probably heard that before?
Yeah.
It's like, I could have done that, but you didn't. Like, that's art.
I remember saying it to my mum. Like, she would take us through art galleries with a kid, and what's the one? black canvas.
Yeah.
It's just a black canvas. I'm like, I could have done that. My mum just going, but you didn't. And I was just like,
damn, I didn't. But I kind of feel like if I had just done a black canvas, that wouldn't have been interesting. Like it wouldn't have popped off. Is it because that person has to have some kind of credibility to start with?
And then now you're getting into highbrow and you're getting into modern art. I remember I took my wife to a modern art gallery in Turkey and I was like, this will be a laugh. And we're just walking around. She's like, what the fuck? What is this? I'm like, yeah, this is modern art. Every artwork needs like a book to go with it to explain it. Yeah. It's like that's because I studied fine art, so I kind of know both sides of it, and I much prefer lowbrow art. Yeah. But yeah, that's highbrow, you know. Yeah. And that's yeah.
Is that what they call highbrow? Because like, do you know Marty Baptist?
Yeah.
Artist.
So I'd still consider him lowbrow, but he does fine art.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Help me define his work because he's become really popular in the last few years. In demand. And
I mean,
he can do really like detailed pieces, but then every now and then he'll do these big text pieces, and he'll write things on a big canvas just in his style of handwriting.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen his more later work. I guess I'd have to have a look.
Yeah,
but
and that's it, and that's all it is. And I look and I go, well, I could have done that, but I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's just my idea of what lowbrow and highbrow is.
So that's lowbrow, is it?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
See, there's no real, I've probably confused you a little bit because it's just what I determine. See, some people would determine my work as actually highbrow, not. Whereas if you think of like the doodles and stuff that like Passport use or those images, that's lowbrow or like.
So it doesn't mean it's less detailed. So for example, your works can be quite detailed. So that's the detail.
I just more think about the audience that enjoys it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They're not the ones that are going to go to a fine art gallery that is all, real. And I enjoy walking into fine art galleries and looking at the paintings and breaking down their technique because I'm just a fan of art. But I'd much rather go to the gallery that has a bunch of like kind of dudes out the front drinking VBs. And it's, it's more the audience that I really enjoy. That I kind of put as like highbrow and lowbrow.
Okay.
The gallery in Bowral versus the gallery in Crown Street, Wollongong. You know what I mean?
The gallery in Barrels, that's the money. That's the cash money. That's the money job, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think there's one in Milton that's a fine art gallery, but I actually really like the artists they get in there.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just funny, I'll also go and check out walk into the tattoo studio and flick through their books too to look at their art, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love going into tattoo art parlors and just looking through the art.
That's right.
Yeah, because tattoos would be considered like lowbrow, right? But look at the detail and stuff in it. So it's more the audience,
right? You grew up in one of the most geographically beautiful areas of the world, in my opinion. And I'm from the South Coast as well originally, and actually driving in here just brought back all these childhood memories, even though I grew up probably another 45 minutes south down in Nowra. But still this whole zone, coastal, and I got a lot of childhood memories. And it's also one of the best surf zones in the world. Yeah. What do you think upon reflection that you did feel like somewhat of an outcast and didn't gravitate towards like your typical surfer dude and fall into that lifestyle?
I think it would have just been, it's all environmental. It's got to be environmental, but I guess the way my mum raised me, kind of question everything, and I don't know, it's what I was drawn to. I remember I still listened to punk and everything when I was young, but I remember really being drawn to hip hop when none of my mates really listened to hip hop. I was mad into basketball, so that might have helped, but a lot of kids were into basketball. And then growing up, bodyboarding, everybody started surfing, and I kind of just stuck with bodyboarding and then going Mystics because it was just, I still go at Mystics, but like it's the best way. It's so much fun on a lid.
That's insane.
And I think I don't know, I think maybe I've always been someone who's comfortable doing what I want to do. I don't need to follow the crowd. Like I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable spending time with myself. Like I don't need, whereas I know growing up, I had friends who were saying, oh, like, I don't like being by myself, or I don't like when my mates are around. I'm like, oh, that's, at the time it was such a weird concept for me. I'm like, oh no, I'm happy to go and just skate in a car park for myself, dude. Like, if everyone else is doing that, I'm going to do what I really want to do.
I was going to lead into, like, is it because it was nurtured by your parents?
I'd say so. Mum always said question everything.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. She was real big on that. And I'm saying with my girls is like question everything. I think Mum especially just let us be ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't. And also Mum didn't grow up with much. Dad grew up out Orange, so he didn't know anything of the culture that we were growing up in. You know, he grew up on a farm, you know. He was into cars and building stuff, and I definitely picked up a lot of traits from him, but just wasn't interested in the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it was just find your own niche, you know. Like I remember I was obsessed with basketball. Then I got obsessed with bodyboarding, and then I got obsessed with skateboarding. You know, it's just
and then obsessed with art,
and then art. But I feel like I don't differentiate skateboarding and art.
Boom,
it's the same thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like we were saying before about drawing. If I've gone for a skate in the day, I don't feel as like I have to go and draw because I've been creative. I've already like played with style and all that shit. So. Even though I fucking never see my skateboard, there's no style.
It's just really interesting because, you know, we're often a product of our environment and our area and our influences. So that's why I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah, like I guess the big things in Kaima with most people growing up with was surfing, footy and fishing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in, like I got surfboards and I'll muck around, but I was just mad into bodyboarding, which... And it's still in the ocean every day, and you still
get barreled.
Yeah, it's just riding waves in a different way. I don't really get into the beef thing, but that's why I don't beef on scooter riders or rollerbladers or any shit. Like I remember I used to skate with a rollerblader. I was just like, fuck, man. If you want to get down, get down. Like,
dude, I'm with that too.
Yeah.
Actually, some arguments about bodyboarders is they're actually more connected to the wave than a surfer.
Yeah, right.
Because you kind of like you got more body surface area connected to the source.
It's definitely with bodyboarding. You need good waves. You can't go like I've banned myself from going out Joneses on a bodyboard because I just get frustrated.
Too fat.
Well, you just don't get the same ramps and stuff, right? So
whereas
surfing, you just multiple boards. You can
get a long board.
You can go on a long point, or you can, you know what I mean. You can fuck around with so many different things, and I'm kind of jealous of that. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, man, you're in the water, you're having fun.
That's
just enjoy it.
You grew up here, and now, like, you know, you've started a family in the same area. You know, I know for me, like, I didn't really appreciate the area I grew up in until I'd left and gone away. I went, holy shit, I grew up in such an amazing place. You were the same.
So I lived in Sydney for a couple of years. I moved up there, just a traineeship, but it was just to skate and to go up there. I was never going to go pro, but I just wanted to experience it, you know.
Yeah.
And then moved home. I was just like, how beautiful is the escarpment? Because you've been here the whole time.
Dude, I cried driving over the escarpment today.
Yeah. It's something, man, and it gets me so much, and especially doing conservation work and working in the bush, like it. We're so fortunate where we live, and I definitely take it for granted every day.
Yeah, and it's always when you live here, it's always in your peripherals.
Yep.
And you don't realize until it's gone, and you don't realize how much you use it as a center point for directions.
Yeah.
And like when the escarpment's something, I was like, okay,
hey,
where's
which
the
way's
escarpment? But also like it taps into something in my soul. It's like it's just like the symbol of home.
Well, it's also one thing that I remember living in the city is you can't see the horizon. You go a whole day without seeing the horizon. Because I was living in Ultimo. I was like right in the
concrete jungle.
And it was epic as a skateboarder. Just step out your board and just skate in any direction, you know. But yeah, you just that being confined, the confinement got to me. Whereas down, I love the space. And you know, and even I'll go up to city and I really enjoy it. I'll go up to Wollongong and I really enjoy it, but I couldn't live there. I don't think. Even here's getting. The older I get, the more I'm like, stick around it. Like I think I used to go to music festivals. Now I go to one gig and I'm like, God, fuck, get me out of here.
You know, Australia's the least densely populated place on earth.
Yeah,
and we also have the least number of livable houses, and. And we have the most room to build more houses, but we have the least amount of houses with the highest property prices in the world.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I can believe that. We've overtaken Japan.
Tokyo, for example, was the most expensive city, and now Sydney is apparently by 80 times.
Jesus Christ.
So I watched this thing where they do a comparison. Back in the 70s, let's say the average income per annum was $18,000.
Yeah.
The average house price was 4 times more than the average yearly income, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means like an average house price back in the 70s was maybe 80, 100 grand.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
But now that gap, what do you think it is?
Oh.
It is. It's 80 times
80
different.
times.
So the amount of the year, it's an 80-year difference in the median house price compared to the median annual salary. That's Sydney.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I've been going through a real trip with it at the moment. I feel like, without sounding pessimistic, I'm just at a bit of a loss with the direction of our country.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. And you can get stuck in your bubbles as well. So obviously from what I'm interested in, I see a lot of like positive ways that we can get out of this, that we can resolve these issues. But because I'm a socialist, I kind of see that kind of stuff and you think, oh, yeah, this is what we'll do.
Yeah.
But then you'll go get your groceries in Shell Cove at like 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock on a Friday and you're like, oh, yeah, no, we're never going to change. There's no way like the status quo is going to take on these concepts they're not that radical.
No.
But the people that are in power and in control are never going to allow that change. They're never going to let go of that grip, and they're going to use every means of fear and intimidation to make sure that the populace doesn't see the logical way to go. I hope I'm wrong, and I do try to stay positive. But, through, just smarter tax laws, we can make so much difference. And I guess we saw with the stage 3 tax cuts that the right wing really tried to throw the fear around. But, even people who are reading the Daily Telegraph could see, like, hang on, this is good for me. Why is this bad? Yeah. So I kind of think that maybe, and a lot of the time the people who scream the loudest, there's not that, they're actually the minority. They say they're the silent majority, but they're actually the vocal minority.
Right.
I think a lot of the time. Again, I guess maybe I'm usually real pessimistic, but maybe I'm getting more positive.
Well, that's good to get more positive. Good for you.
Well, yeah,
I've gone the opposite.
Yeah.
I've gone the opposite with, I guess, politics and also culture, like society culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really confused as to the complacency of many people in our society, because I feel like change comes from the people, and and if you look at the history of time, any real change that's ever been achieved is the coming together of people. Mm-hmm. But I just see more division than I've ever seen, and then I see like problems growing, like just an unlivable standard of living at the moment financially for a lot of people. Like substance abuse and mental health on the rise. So it's really, and I've always been a very positive person about it, but I feel like I have become more pessimistic. I don't want to though.
No. Well, I think environmentally I'm pretty pessimistic, pretty or realistic, I would say, because so much damage has been done, and to turn it around needs major, major work, and we're not going to see it. You see little things like, I think I saw the other day the Nirvana solution. They're looking for the Nirvana solution to issue, and that is the solution has to be perfect. You're never going to get a perfect solution. So, like the wind farms off the coast, a lot of people are against it, but I think there's a lot of misinformation. But also it's like, we've got to do something. And if you think they're damaging to the environment, go and look at a coal mine. It's a lot worse.
Can you share with everyone what you do for your day job, just to remind everyone
So I work for national parks. I'm a field officer. I've been there for almost 6 years. Field officers are on the ground. We're not rangers. Rangers are a lot more like project officers, but deal with law enforcement and permits and stuff like that. I'm just on the ground every day. I love it. Before that, I did 16 years of bush regen and revegetation projects, conservation land management. Doesn't pay well, but fills your soul. Breaks your back, but yes, in the bush every day with dirt up under your fingernails, and you're in the scrub. You know, you're not national parks. A lot of time you're working on a track or on a fire trail. You're rarely down actually in the scrub unless you're actually firefighting or HRs and stuff like that. But bush regen, you're in it all day, so you're so connected. It's if anybody wants to really learn about the bush, it's the best way to learn. It's very hard work and it doesn't pay well. But you'll work with some fucking amazing people.
And why did you feel compelled to go that way?
I fell into it, to be honest. I studied nursing for a year and a half, and I dropped out because shout out to any nurses, it's just emotionally draining. And I just did a few practicals and realised it wasn't for me. You know, I think I got a little bit of trauma. No, I still think about some of the instances.
So you completed a nursing degree?
No, I dropped out year and a half.
So you did like practicals or residencies?
Yeah, you do where you're in the hospital for a week and you do them maybe twice a semester or so. Or a term or a semester.
And even that was traumatic.
Yeah, I had a couple of instances where I was just like, these ain't for me.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I had a lady with dementia that was quite confronting.
Okay.
She thought I was her son, and I was,
Okay.
It was quite full on. And I was getting in trouble for spending too long with patients. I wasn't just getting through the work, you know.
Do they have like time caps? Like, look, you're only got to spend this amount of time per patient.
They have, we need twice as many nurses as there are. And even with student nurses in the ward doing the medial tasks, there's still so much work to be done. So it just wasn't for me. And then it was actually my brother-in-law, my sister's wife, my sister's husband. He just saw an ad in the paper for Green Corps back in the day.
Sick.
And I dropped out of uni, didn't know what I was going to do, and then I just went and did this. I was just like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like this,
right.
I just love it. I got so in it, and Green Corps was meant to go for 6 months. I think I did it for 3.5 months, and I got a job in the traineeship in Sydney, and I moved up to Sydney and just
in national parks and wildlife.
No. This is. So I've only been in national parks the last 5 years.
Oh, who were you with then before that?
So I just jumped around. There's so many bush regen mobs, just grassroots.
Yep.
Yeah, just real grassroots
so
companies.
Planting trees.
It's mostly weed control. So bush regen, the whole emphasis of it is basically trying to get the bush to regenerate. So to do that, you're getting rid of the weeds, but you're doing it in a way that you're protecting what's already there.
Okay.
You're not just like spray it or mulch and re-veg.
Like erosion management? Stuff like
in
that.
a way, but it's more just like one of the great things is like when you go through and you find weeding, like hand weeding through something, and you just like you can see all these little native coming up. You're like, okay, there's a native I'll weed around it. There's another native I'll weed around it. Then you come back in a month and you can see that native's a little bit bigger. That native's a little bit bigger.
It's the best, hey?
And then you just keep working and you're working it like that. It's more like a grassroots approach. I've definitely done like the massive re-veg projects as well, where you're putting in like hundreds of thousands of trees and plants, and I've done all from grassroots side of things that's real purist, where they hardly even use like chemicals and stuff, to bigger works where you are working on job sites like new estates, and there's the offset. So it's like, okay, we're going to destroy this creek, and so we're going to, as an offset, we're going to put money into rehabilitate this other creek. I don't really like offsets, but it is a way that a lot of people can be employed in that field, and it does put a monetary value on nature. But yeah, I'm not a fan. Like, when you're saying with houses and building more houses, it is very difficult because Southeast Australia is one of the most deforested places in the world. And we don't think about it. We think about Brazil or Borneo because that's happening now. But Southeast Australia was deforested in, the 1800s. And so the damage has been done. So what there is left, we really do need to protect it. And, Cumberland Plain and places where people want to put houses is the same places that we need to protect. So it's very difficult.
Yeah. So you think it also comes down to like, you know, the most inhabitable parts of Australia on the outskirts, on the fringes, the coastal areas, and then slightly inland from that, really. And then beyond that, it's kind of not.
Well, and I think that's because of the way we've set, like, as I said, just went back to Orange. I've been going there since I was a kid, and that place is growing. Like, that's a city now. It's growing. Like, I think if you can do that sustainably, and you can get people like, so I know a lot of government departments have moved to Orange, out of the city. Like, people talk about high speed rail so that people can still work in Sydney, but we need to get away from that idea and make places like Orange, Bathurst, and these kind of regional cities more inhabitable. But you also do need to think about water and food and like, you know, drought hits out there.
Just do what California did and put a big pipeline to Canada. It's insane.
No, but if we build our houses more sustainably and we think about other ways to capture water and energy use and everything, then we can do it that way. I got a bit sideways. Sorry.
No, I love that you said that because, houses can be built more sustainably, like catching water. I think it is standard for a lot of houses, new houses that are built, that they must have a water catchment or a water tank, a rainwater tank.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're getting better. And even like
it's
mandatory.
It
was only a few years ago that you could still have black. Oh, actually, there's a house down the road that built with black, and up the road, actually, that you can still build a house with a black roof. That blows me away. That aesthetics is more important than just sustainability. It's just, I still don't get that, hey?
Or design, like houses can be designed, even the position to catch more sunlight, and they can become self-heating. Yeah,
and even now, like they're saying, you have to have, there has to be enough room to be able to plant a tree in the backyard. Because one tree can change so much. We used to have this big liquid amber in the backyard, but unfortunately had borers and it was falling. I had to get rid of it. But that tree, man, you used to walk into the backyard here in summer and it'd be 5-6 degrees cooler in the backyard. It was insane. So that's why I'm growing more trees to try and get that back. But things like that, like trees and instead of just jamming all these houses in on top of each other, actually breaking them up with green corridors and stuff like that, you're going to bring down that energy consumption.
Well, they say that's what's happening in Western Sydney is the advent of what they call urban heat islands.
Yes, yeah.
Because of the lack of trees and these, big shopping centres, big black car parks, and they're not putting enough vegetation in them, and these big subdivisions where houses are built, big houses built right next to each other, so there's no green corridors. Yeah,
and they can't even have like decent eaves on their house, which also adds to the cooling.
Exactly, and so those areas are actually getting hotter because they're absorbing the heat, and they're saying that the way it's going, that parts of Western Sydney can become like unlivable. We're going to get up to 50-degree days and stuff out there.
It's madness. It is.
Celsius,
and unfortunately,
Celsius,
it's more affluent areas have more street trees. So if you go to, if you're driving around and you see like an area of lower socioeconomic, there's less street trees. There's less trees. Even in the park, there's less trees.
Interesting.
And so that's one thing we need to really combat is like, and you like have a look, like next time you like walk under a tree on a hot day, just notice how cool it is, but then walk under just a shade of, say, like a man-made structure. You don't get the same. You can feel that it's cool because the air that's been insulated through all those leaves and everything. It's such an easy solution. But unfortunately, Australians have, trees bring bugs or they drop branches or the birds poo in my car.
Or the leaves clog on my gutters.
Yeah. I remember my old neighbour once, she was basically wanted me to pay for the plumber to clean her gutters. Because I had to get my gutters clean. I'm like, wait, you don't clean your gutters? You got to clean your gutters. You can't blame that on me, on my tree. And I'd sit and watch their family. They don't live there now, but watch their family sitting out there in summer under the shade of this tree that they're complaining about. And like, just
don't get it.
Yeah, don't get it.
It's funny how nature comes up with the best designs.
Because it's been doing it forever, right? Yeah.
Dude, I recently watched that documentary, Fantastic Fungi. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah,
And I'd heard about mycelium networks.
Yeah.
But I had no idea how rad they are and how they just connect our eco-environments and they communicate. And it's like...
It's one of those things that once you learn it or you become aware of it, you see it everywhere. And then you're like, oh, like I'm reading a book about bugs now, and I'm like, oh, this is going to flick me like that one, you know, because I do have another fungi book that I was trying to read, but it's a bit dry, so I'm trying to get through it. But yeah, it just flips it. Hey, like
do you see rad fungi out in your work?
Unbelievable. And I also work with a woman. Shout out Jen Owens. She's just a massive fungi frother, and she goes out and finds the ghost fungi, and yeah, she's like. Yeah, it's next because she just got mad into it, and she's kind of dragging me into it a bit too. Like
so interesting,
and especially when working in the Highlands. It was it's insane. But it is one of those things that you do start to notice more, and then you do, especially with like my work. You know, sometimes like I had to get a tree assessed because it had fungi growing on it, so it was a key to show that the inside of the tree was rotting. So, but then at the same time, I was like, oh, do we have to get rid of this tree? Because it's hazardous to humans, but it's got all this cool fungi on it.
Like, I think people underestimate the intelligence of nature. Like, nature's sending in the troops. Like, okay, we need to break this tree down, and the tree will decompose in that spot, and other things are going to flourish from that.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
It's life and death. It's the cycle, and it's like fungi is the catalyst for igniting that new cycle.
Yeah, we know so little about it
as
well.
But you know a fact I love about it? You know how humans breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, and then plants breathe in carbon dioxide and then expel oxygen, and that's photosynthesis, right?
Yeah.
Fungi breathes oxygen and expels carbon dioxide like
Same
humans.
as humans. Yeah, right. Same as animals.
It's trippy, eh?
That's crazy. Yeah, because they're not plant and they're not animal. Yeah,
they're aliens.
They're their own thing.
And if you want to go deeper, like maybe like we're talking about making contact with aliens, like maybe
it's through fungi. Fungi and dolphins, I reckon.
Dolphins are a treat. I seen a meme the other day of a dolphin at SeaWorld trying to hump this chick. Have you seen that?
No, I don't want to see
that.
She was
like patting it, like cause apparently they're mad horny. And and like jumped on her as she's like trying to feed it a sardine, and started like thrusting on her, dry humping her, or wet humping her.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry, that was too far. Wrong convo. But,
don't mention dolphins.
Dolphins, man. Dolphins are smart. Orcas.
Yeah, orcas are neck level.
The way they hunt.
So sick.
It's fucking evil. It's evil how they hunt though, man.
But then they're specialist hunters as well. So depending on where they are in the world, they hunt different things.
Do they?
On the south coast, they're whale hunters. And so have you heard the stories of like in Eden, that was the Aboriginal people used to use, the Yuin? No, it's not Yuin, sorry, apologies. I don't know. But they would work with the orcas to hunt. And then the white fellas learnt off the Aboriginal people, and they were doing it. And so the orcas would let the white fellas know when there was a whale, and they would corral it into the bay. The white fellas would go out with a harpoon, and they'd harpoon it, and then they'd leave it. The orcas would finish it off because all the orcas wanted was the tongue. Orcas would eat the tongue, and they'd put a buoy on the harpoon, and they'd come out the next day, and then they'd just go and find the whale. It's next level, hey. And they've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And then unfortunately one white fella killed a orca, and then that was the end of it. The orca were too smart, like no buggy. Yeah, there's obviously a lot more to it, and really apologies for really brushing over that story. Like apologies to First Nation people. But yeah, there's heaps in it. It's awesome to go and listen to.
Oh, dude, it's so interesting. I'm so into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You been watching much skating lately online?
Oh, man, I always do.
Have you seen some of the latest clips that are coming out?
Yeah. So the last one that got me really fired up, Dakota's America part. I'm a big America fan, and La Dakota is so sick. But the GX 1000 one in Basque Country, Spain. Those guys are the best. So whenever with someone like from outside of skateboarding, they talk about Street League, and I say, I don't watch the comps. And like, really? Like, man, go watch GX 1000. Go watch any of those clips. And like, for me, that's skateboarding. Yeah. That's just like a next level.
It's raw, man.
So nice.
You know what I watched recently? Like Epically Lated, Patrick O'Dell, literally one of my favourite skateboarding journalists, and the style of those Epically Lated, the format, everything. I just love everything about it.
Yeah, I watched
Yeah.
Another one.
But he's, they stopped for a while and he started
Yeah.
redoing some. But
Yeah.
he did one on Stefan Janoski.
Yes.
Did you watch that?
Yeah.
And I've always loved watching Stefan's skating. He's an
So
amazing
sick.
skater.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know the backstory of his shoe.
Yeah, that was insane. Hey?
And again, it really ties into what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
do you want?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I recap it?
Yeah.
Well, Nike were like, we're going to give you a shoe, and he's like, I knew exactly what I want, and they're just like, and then he sort of came at a head with them in the design process. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, this is what I want. And then all the other dudes are on Nike, dude, don't be too difficult. You don't want to lose Nike. What? It's like, no, it's what I fucking want.
He stood his
I
ground.
think P-Rod and those guys dude, don't fuck with them. You're going to lose your contract. They're not going to re-sign you, stuff like that. He's like, nah, I want it. And what do you know? That shoe was so popular that their big factory in China has a Jordan wing.
Yeah,
and a Janoski wing.
Yeah,
It's the most
possibly
sold
one of the
shoe.
most sold shoes, not just in skateboarding, but
again, this is what happens when you stay true.
100%.
You know?
Yeah. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he was going to make it regardless. And I love the fact that he only wears his shoe.
Because it's that's what he wants to skate in. He wants
that makes sense, right?
board feel. He
Yeah.
wanted that toe, nice and thin.
He even got married in them.
Oh yeah, didn't he? But now he's just leading the biggest rock star lifestyle. He'll never have to work again.
No, it is insane. It is insane. Yeah. No, and that's it. If you stay true, there's so many, once I kind of got onto that idea of, it was like a brain switch. I was going through a kind of dark time there during the pandemic and lockdown and everything. And once I realized that, it was just and then you start seeing all these other people that the same thing. They're just like the best albums, the best musicians that you love, they could not give a shit about the audience. They're making that for them. And I was literally just watching an interview with Idols, one of my favorite bands, and their new album, they're like, yeah, to be honest, we didn't make it for the crowd. We make music for us. If the crowd love it, that's a bonus, right? And that's what it should be at the end of the day. Anything you make, put 100% of yourself into it. And I do feel sorry not sorry, but I hope that other artists will get that enlightenment, and I see friends and stuff and you can see them just promoting their brand, as they say, It's just don't worry about it. Just, love the feeling of the bristles or the can in your hand. That's what it should be about.
Is that what Rick Rubin was saying in his book?
Yeah, pretty much. It's an epic book. I'll read it. It's almost like it's a religious text, I bought it for my mum and I said to her, you don't sit down and just read it cover to cover. You read a chapter or two and then you just ponder on that for a couple of days and then read it. And even the other day I was getting a little bit stuck and you just flick it to a page and just see what comes up, There is a lot of stuff about, the universe provides and you got to look for source and I get that. I'm still not 100% on the whole, listen to the universe. Everything happens for a reason. I think that's a little bit of a privileged white person way to look at things, that kid in Gaza, what's the purpose of that happening to him, or to them. But it is true. If you open your mind and, you're pondering on, you're stuck on an idea, or you're stuck on something, just let it come to you. Don't force it and take the time and look around you and, observe nature, observe the world around you. So I love driving in a car through country roads, man. I get so much stimulus, man.
But some would say that's a spiritual practice in itself.
100%. And
Would you describe yourself as a spiritual person?
Not in the traditional sense, but 100%, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
What about describe it in the non-traditional sense?
So more in an environmental sense in that, so going to Mystics, even if it's a crap surf, I get to paddle the river. I paddle the river and even if the surf's crap, because I can't see it from my end. I can't check it. I can kind of check it, but I don't bother. I just paddle the river and see what I get. And that's what I get, they say, excitement, right? But that river for me is a sacred, or I shouldn't say sacred, it's a special place for me because it's a sacred place for the Darwin people, but it's a special place for me. And it's that it fills my cup. It gets me, it really is. It's spiritual, right? I get that in nature. 100%. And art is almost like praying. You know, it's your meditation. I suck at meditation. I want to get better at it. But I can get lost in a painting, and then you're painting and you look down and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I've got to go pick up the kids. You just get lost. So I guess if that answers it, I don't know. But that, for me, that's my kind of spirituality through art, is that it's my expression, and I feel like I have to do it.
Yeah.
Like I was saying to you before, sometimes I wish I could just be like normal and not have to have this burning desire to have to paint. But the older I get, the more I'm like, no, I'm so blessed that I am comfortable to do this.
So where do you find guidance in life when a difficult decision comes up?
Well, it depends on what it is. So my wife and I talk a lot, and so I'm very happy and I'm very fortunate there. And also she's a counsellor and works in mental health. So I always think that I'm like she should just put me in her resume and like, look what I did with this guy. Like, how much I can do with, you know, 'cause she does work in drug and alcohol. And
what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like?
Oh, I mean, when she first met me,
she was an example.
Well, when she first met me, I was alcoholic and a heavy pot smoker, and probably just stopped using party drugs. But yeah, like basically an addict. And it's now like, you know, she's been sober for a year and I'm going.
This is a new thing. I noticed you.
Yeah, I've been 3 months. But last year I went from drinking a case a week plus to six drinks a week. That's what I did all last year. And then now trying to, yeah.
So was there something that prompted it? Were you feeling crap physically?
Yeah, I'm always feeling crap.
Tired.
And also like dealing with mental health and everything. And, you know, you think, oh, I'll go have a drink and feel better. Like, yeah, you do. But the next day, you're going to, it's just a cycle, right? Yeah. So, yeah, fortunate. It's just about feeling better. I just like feeling good. I like feeling fresh. And, you know, as I was saying, I got back issues and everything. So I find if I'm not drinking, I don't get the aches and everything as much. You know, I feel like I'm actually getting the benefits from my workout and from looking after myself and everything, and as well as eating good and trying not to eat as much meat, trying not to cutting out all the crap, you know, like I've fucking had a terrible diet when I was younger. And yeah, really cutting out sugar and, yeah, just shit. It's not that hard, like just good food. But I'm also fortunate that I can afford good food, right? I can go to Source and go and buy a granola and fresh fruit and stuff. And that's what's really unfortunate, is that it's not a choice. Some people don't have a choice. Yeah. They have to eat crap because that's all they can afford. So it's a privilege, and
you feel like you were neglecting that privilege.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 100%. Eating shapes and drinking dares every day. Like, just
I love shapes, like pizza shapes, but
but
again, it's moderation with that 100%. Stuff. It's funny how like your version of what's bad changes the healthier you get. You know, when I first stopped drinking like 11 years ago, it was, you know, bad diet meant Macca's and KFC. You know, and then as I got healthier, like if I was having a bad diet week, it meant I had a wood-fired pizza on Saturday night, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was bad. Or I did eat a packet of shapes, but it wasn't as bad. And it's like,
I think you notice it more though.
I think you become more sensitive.
Yeah. I can't really eat. Like at work, we'll have like a barbecue lunch and I'll have 3 sausages and I'll be like, oh, I feel like absolute shit.
Yeah, because you've had a taste of what it feels like to feel really good. And I think most people become so accustomed to feeling like shit, and that's their new normal.
100%.
Like, this is just how I feel all the time, so that's normal. And then, but they don't realise that you potentially can feel so good.
Yeah, and it also takes time. I remember when I quit pot, it was the hardest thing. It took me so many times to do it. And it took a year before I felt the benefits.
There you go.
It took a year to get it out of my system.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's why people will quit for like a month or two and they get back on it. It's like, you know, it's still in your system. Like it takes so long.
What were you noticing in that year then? Like still like lethargic at times?
Yeah. Still not. Like obviously started feeling better sleep and better stuff like that. But it wasn't until a year later that I think mentally I really started clicking.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And always told myself I needed pot and I needed alcohol to get ideas, man, to be creative, right?
I'm an artist.
Yeah, it's that bullshit lie that artists are better when they're then they're suffering, and that's fucking bullshit. You're better when you're feeling amazing.
I can't believe you said that.
Yeah. And the idea is my art has gotten so much better since I stopped smoking weed.
Dude.
Like it just like phenomenally better.
There you go. Because you've like it's an energy expenditure. You know, like did you know that when you're actively using your brain, that in a day, if you're like having to concentrate a lot, that your brain will actually use 20% of all of your energy stores in your body. Really? That's how much energy it needs. So like if there's a tank full of energy, right, that one organ is the one that is going to absorb a majority share more than your muscles, because it needs to pull all the energy out of your body to function.
That's crazy.
That's the fuel.
And that's why you sleep so good if you've read before you went to bed or like drawn or done.
Yeah, it's just like putting your brain on the treadmill for half an hour. Yeah. So, and that's why like the more energy source you have, like you're actually going to be able to think better. And Sid, my friend, was saying it the other day on the phone, like he's never been a gym guy, but he started going to the gym, lifting weights, doing some stuff for his knees. And what do you know? He feels like he's producing the best art he's ever produced, and he's actually getting more work than he's ever got.
Yeah.
You know, and because unlike you, that's his only source of revenue.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
But I remember one of the inspirations for me to really get on top of it, and it took a while, is a friend that I mentioned before, Luke Wynn. He had a year off alcohol, I remember ages ago, and within that year, what he got done is insane. Like I was seeing it as a friend, and he works in graphic design. He now works for Dickies, but in that year he got work with Mambo, and then he went on and worked for Billabong, and I just attribute all to that year. That 1 year, like he may not, but I definitely.
And you think it set off the rest of his career?
I reckon, 100%.
Wow.
And it's always been ingrained in me, and that always pushed me to be better. But like that, we're talking like 10 years ago. It took me a while.
Dude, I'm the same.
He's like a veteran now in his field.
Dude, I have to learn the hard way over and over.
Yeah.
Like
it's not easy. What
have you noticed then in regards to your mental health then since you stopped drinking?
To be honest, this year has been pretty stressful at work. I've had to step up, and there's been a lot of other things going on, and I keep thinking, God, I'm glad I'm not drinking, because I know in myself I would be so much more irritable and grumpy than I am now. I'm not saying I'm fucking amazing and I'm whistling off to work every morning. I still enjoy going to work, but it has been tough. But I reckon I would be a lot worse off. Okay. You didn't feel like it's not
you
like
needed an escape? Because, I mean, it's a good escape when you're stressed.
Oh,
so you don't.
100%.
So now you don't. I'm going to ask you this. Now you don't have that little afternoon escape, stressful day, couple of beers.
Yeah.
To let the pressure off.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're craving that?
I am. But I just put it into other things, like I've never been a tea guy, but I'll make you got a lemon myrtle tree that grows out the front. I go and grab some leaves off that, crush it up and make a tea. And it's just, I've found, like I was saying to you before though as well, it's like the zero beers, I really enjoy them. And I find when I feel like a beer, I think, all right, have a zero beer and see how you feel. And afterwards, I don't feel like it anymore. And I remember that with like quitting cigarettes. It's like a 10-minute thing. Wait that 10 minutes and see if you still want a cigarette. A lot of times you don't. It's just the cravings are only a short amount of time, and you just got to kind of not wear them, but do something else that's positive. But the thing that I found for me with drinking was that if I had a couple of beers, I was less motivated to come out and paint or to draw. Sure, on a Sunday arvo, it was nice to be out in the studio and crack a beer while I'm paint away and have a couple of beers while you're painting. It was enjoyable and everything, but you come home from work, you have a beer or whatever, and then it's like, oh, I can be fucked. Whereas now it's like, no, that's the motivation not to drink. It's like, yeah, but I'm going to be pumped to paint later, so like, just ride it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think I've done most things, gone to a pub and not drank, which is kind of hard, but then at the same time, it's like you just think about how good I'm going to feel at 2 a.m. in the morning when I don't wake up with the aches.
And then it becomes your new normal. Like I really struggled with that. I think the first year I didn't drink, all my friends were getting married. I had to go to like 6 weddings.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
And I found that the hardest because there's free alcohol and you're usually with close friends and they've only known you as someone you drink with.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think it was a baptism by fire because once you do get through that, everyone just goes, like they just accept it.
Yeah,
Your real friends will accept it and it's just not a thing and then they don't even ask you. Another thing I've noticed in social situations is once everyone's had one beer, they forget you're not drinking anyway.
Yeah,
and they just like don't even talk about it.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Yeah. But one more point I want to add to you, I don't want to talk too much myself, but I learned that every 7, like your body's constantly regenerating cells. Did you know that? Like creating new cells in the body to like heal itself and regenerate.
Okay.
So yeah, like, you got cells, they die, they serve their purpose, they die, your body creates more cells. And it's a 7-year process. After 7 years, like every single cell in your body's been completely regenerated. So once you get to 7 years without a drop of alcohol in your body, like, and you were saying, it took about a whole year for the pot.
Yeah.
For me, I really do believe it was like 7 years till I just felt like the alcohol was completely gone.
Far out. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. Well, I'd be over 7 years with pot.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
But I mean, I've got I don't smoke weed, but I've got different philosophies on it these days, man.
Yeah, I think it's like everything. If it's in moderation, I had, what was it? Had that tincture, where it's just like it's a different way to get the THC out, and it was just a couple of drops in a
vaporizer?
No. Like it was actually like drops. I put in a non-alcoholic beer and had that, and it was different to smoking it. It was completely different. It was like it was more along that like, this is what it's meant to be. You know what I mean? Like I'm not against it. I like the Greco thing. Like I don't want to like preach to anyone, but I remember Jim Greco said, if it worked for me, I'd still be doing it. So like, Dustin Dolan probably works for him. Good on you. Maybe not. But so I don't want to preach, but pot just didn't work for me. Whereas I know people.
In what way? When you were stoned?
If I had it in the house, I had to smoke it.
And then
whereas
what was your
I could leave beers in the. You know what I mean? I could have beer in the fridge and not drink it. But if there was pot in the house, I had to smoke it.
And
then I was a grumpy person because I was always fucking stoned.
So you were grumpy when you were stoned?
Not when I was stoned, but the rest of the fucking time,
because you couldn't wait to get stoned again?
Yeah, because you're numbing. You're just constantly fucking numbing and you're pushing those emotions away. And I fully believe that I didn't kind of grow emotionally because I was just fucking numbing it for like decades. Like
that's actually, do you know that's a known thing? With addicts, they say that an addict stops growing emotionally after their first drink or drug. So so then it's like if you've been drinking since you were 12, right? Yeah, you've got the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old.
Yeah, wow.
That's like that's like this. I've heard it said before, whether how true or not it is, but I don't know. Because for me personally. Again, when I stopped drinking, it was like physically I felt good, but like actually my mental health got worse for a period. Because all of a sudden I was like having to just deal with shit and couldn't numb out on anything. Couldn't escape. I was like, oh no, I've actually got to take responsibility. I've got to feel my emotions now. Because I wasn't. If I felt angry, upset, resentful, sad, drink. Oh, okay, I feel okay now. I'm numb now. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh, fuck, I've got to deal with this.
I've got to sit with this now. I can't just run off and hide.
And it's a skill. Like sitting with it's a skill.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, true.
That gets developed and refined and then you become a master.
That makes so much sense though, yeah. Because there is times I'm like, I swear I felt better when I was drinking.
Do you feel like it's made you a better dad?
Oh, I don't know, but my wife has said like I'm more patient with the girls when I'm not drinking.
More present?
Yeah. But I still feel like Elka's 3, almost turning 4. She's going through the phases where it's hard. It's hard. So I don't know. I'm like, really? Am I? Fuck, doesn't feel that way. I broke a chair the other day. I was like, fuck.
That's okay though. Do you go into guilt after that?
Oh, of course you do. Yeah. Like it's just that I struggle with like containing that kind of emotional release. I'm getting better at it, but yeah, 100%.
I think the shame and the guilt is more destructive than the actual act.
Oh, yeah. I sit with a lot of shame. Yeah. And it's not, I never stole from anybody. I never hurt anyone physically or anything like that. But it's just that wasted time and just so much just awkward shit. And you always focus on the shit, right? Like I remember a mate like sitting with him, it's like, oh, I remember we went to that gig and then we were like, holy shit, I completely forgot about that. I'd blocked out this really good memory of something because all I carry is all the fucking, is the negative things that happen. And I do have to stop myself sometimes and go, hang on, no, you got a lot of good out of that too.
Are you good at owning your behaviour when you do something negative?
I think I am. I hope I am.
You'll own it and say sorry?
Yeah, I'll apologise and maybe a little bit too much sometimes. But no, 100%. Like I try to. I'll say to that, but
that's all you can do.
Yeah. But yeah, on that like emotional growing, it is something I have to deal with at work is I just don't have the confidence in myself.
In what way?
Or I just think, I can't, I recently went for a job within Parks, another job, and I was going to leave the area basically if I took this job. And then I had like my supervisor saying like how valued a worker is. I'm kind of having to come like, no, I didn't know that. He's like, yeah, man, like you're the easiest person to deal with. I'm like, really? I thought I was just like a whinge and like complain. It's like, no, man, like, oh, wow, okay, thanks, man.
Really? Do you think you've got a negative perspective of yourself?
I just don't think I've kind of grown. That emotional growth is growing the confidence, Like I don't overcompensate with confidence like a lot of men do. I don't feel the need to purchase things and to, overcompensate. But yeah, I just don't have confidence in myself in those terms, right? Which it's just so weird. Whereas if you give me a wall, I'll go and climb up a scissor lift and paint that wall and not be nervous. I'll sleep fine the night before.
Wow.
Yeah, but then if I've got to go and it used to be really bad. Like if I had to go and talk to other tradies on the side of the foreman, or if I had to go and like when I first started working at parks, you got to go and talk to people about like having dogs in the park or camping where they're not supposed to. Like I just have conversations with them. I'm not out to be a cop. But those situations, I'll get so freaking anxious, like so insane.
Like you don't like confrontation?
Yeah, maybe. Or just like don't want to feel inferior or feel like even now I have to tell myself like if I take the car to the mechanic, if they're a little bit like up themselves, like fuck this, man, like okay, you know more about me than cars. Fuck off. But it's all in my head. This guy's not doing that. I'm just building it up in my head to be bigger than what it is. And I'm getting over it now. I'm getting used to it. But
so you're accepting that sometimes that your feelings aren't facts.
Yeah. It's that thing, right? It's a thing of knowing that the thought you're having isn't right. That's what intelligence is. You know what I mean? It's like being sexist or racist or homophobic or whatever. It's like everybody has those thoughts to a degree. It's just the intelligence to go, no, that's not right. Flip that over. And the more you do that, then you just subconsciously do it, right? Whereas if you think, oh, those people are bad, they're ruining our society, and you just keep, and then you only look for people who say things like that, then that becomes your intelligence, which is really fucking low.
Yes.
But if you're smart enough to go, no, that's not right, in your own head, flip it over, and then you do that constantly, then you kind of break down that intolerance.
Yeah, that's a good point. I once heard that empathy is one of the highest form of intelligence.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting into?
Yeah, I think so. I said something like that the other day.
Actually, anyone who has the ability to put themselves in someone else's shoes.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's like this next level higher order. Because it overrides the primal fight or flight instinct.
100%. Yeah, we've got that tribal kind of shit in us.
It's overriding.
That is us versus them.
Yeah.
But it's you can override it through intelligence.
Survival. It's a survival mechanism. Like I'm either going to run away from this person or I'm going to fight them because they're only addressing the symptoms or what's on the outside of their actions or behavior.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like they're intelligent enough to look past the perceived attack or fear. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've heard that a couple of times recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always funny how that. I say I don't like that kind of the universe provides, but it fucking kind of does sometimes.
But what's the universe though?
I don't know. Well,
God?
just like something will come up, like you start, maybe it's just that you notice it more. And you're like, oh, I just noticed that the other day. Fuck, that's weird. What a weird coincidence. It's like apparently there are no coincidences. But I don't know. I'm very skeptical on that. But
Is it also...
it does seem to happen like that sometimes, that the answer you're looking for will kind of keep popping up.
You think it's a sign you're on the right path?
Maybe. Or maybe it's just that you're open to it. If you weren't open to it, that answer was there all along, but you just weren't. I don't fucking know. I'm getting philosophical now.
I love it.
Just
but the thing is, like, yeah, like straight away, like I get overwhelmed with it too, and then I do exactly what you just did and went, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
well,
true.
You know what?
Yeah.
No one does.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've acknowledged that you're connected to nature. You're part of nature.
Yes, yeah.
But I want to ask you, like, because you're in a natural environment constantly.
Yeah.
Do you ever ask yourself, like, how did this come about?
How did the world come about?
How did nature come about? How did these intelligent life forms of fungi, plants, fauna, flora? Do you ever? You don't have moments where you're like, did something create this, or do you believe it was evolved? Like,
I do understand evolution, like, and I guess working in nature, you see that, and you read about it, you learn about it. But I do definitely have that thing, like, okay, like I can see how that evolved from that, but it's a big fucking jump from a bonobo to a human being, you know what I mean? Or like a chimpanzee or bonobo, like that jump, that's a big fucking jump. But also working in nature, you just see some fucking just insane things that are just unexplainable. Like, but it's been here for billions and billions of years of just, it's such a big process. I don't believe that there's some greater being, like,
okay,
or something else. But if you do, that's cool on you. But for me,
you just think it's been a process.
To be honest, what I think more about is how the fuck are we, like, how much humanity has changed in such a short amount of time. In that evolutionary, like if I'm stressed and having a bad day, I can go out and weed in the yard and I feel better, like in a bit. Right? Like if I weed for 15, 20 minutes, I'll feel better because evolutionary, that's what we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years. The way we're living right now is just so unnatural. That's what I think about every day. When I'm at work, I just think this is like, no wonder we are struggling so much emotionally and everything. Like, because another great book to read is that Tribe by Sebastian Junger. Okay. And that breaking down of like the way we live is so destructive. You know, like for one point from that book is like, you know, the high school shooters and the mass shooters usually come from affluent suburbs where people don't talk to their neighbors. They don't come from the poorer communities where everybody knows their neighbor and there's actually community. Yeah. So breaking down a tribes, they're breaking down a community. We're so isolated, and, you know, that I think about that more than the bigger picture stuff. Like, I
think about that too.
I try to get that, or just subconsciously, I think that's what's coming into the work. I think a lot. Yeah.
And I think about the same thing, except from a slightly different perspective. Because I'm a high school teacher, I have a lot of moments of like, I'm spending more time with other people's children than they are. And then someone else someone else is looking after my children effectively and raising my children. Yeah, wow. And or if they're in childcare, I'm paying someone to look after my kids. Yeah. That whole model doesn't make sense. Why aren't we should be with our kids every day. We should be the one teaching our kids and raising our kids. Yeah.
And only a few generations ago, your kid was with you all day in the field or foraging. You know, that's what we're meant to be doing. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the core of the disconnect.
100%. That's,
And that's where I think the structures are all wrong. And the, like this, that's,
it's like what we value as a society is.
The structure's all wrong, man.
Yeah. Like I know of people that, you know, they're quite well off and they have a job that is very well respected, but they have another person who basically raises their kids. They call her mum, but they hardly ever see their kids because in our society, the job that they do is considered more important than being a parent.
And that's exactly what the structure is.
I just trip on it so hard.
Why are people doing that?
Because I think it's just the capitalist society that we value. Exactly. We value like money and status over, like, to quote Charlie Tuna, right? The most that you can spend on the most that you can spend on any child is time.
100%.
That has always resonated with me, man. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. You can spoil your kids, you can take them on the fanciest holidays and everything, but really they just want to throw mud at each other in the backyard with you, you know, like just.
Yeah, like how many times have you heard your kids say to you, Daddy, play with me?
Oh, just before.
Yeah.
Like
they
3
say
times today.
all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's tiring.
Yeah.
As a parent, it's tiring. You're like, oh, okay, I'm doing something you don't really feel like doing.
Yeah.
You know, but we've almost been conditioned. Like the more, it's like anything. The more you do play with your kids when they ask you, it gets easier and easier.
And the more you put the effort in, I think. Like, I'm not the best at it, but I'm working on it. But like little things like today, it was like, okay, and you had the girls today. You freeze some. I got some of the toys, and you freeze it in an ice block overnight, and then they play with that, and that just gets them like using paintbrushes to try and like melt the ice and get the toys out of the ice. So it's that little thing of like, you do take that little bit of effort and it makes it easier. Whereas when they just dump on you, Daddy, do a jigsaw puzzle, I want to play with it. It's like, oh, it's that drain, right? But if you can kind of, I also heard another one that I've been using lately is like, picture yourself as an 80-year-old man. Your kids are all grown up. You've come back in time. And when your kids are like feral and they're being really testing, is you pretend that you've just come back in time and this is the only moment you get. You don't get any other time. And so I've been doing that lately. Like when my daughter's just really like, just walk away and think, okay, hang on.
Good.
I'm going to miss this when she's older.
You don't get it back.
Get it back, you know. And when they are having a tantrum, sometimes they just want to cuddle, man, or you can just distract them.
But I think what a lot of Australians face is such a high cost of living. They literally
demand.
They have to work 5 days a week to house their children and feed their children. And that's noble in itself.
100%.
But it's not right. It doesn't mean it's right.
No, it's not.
And they'll work jobs that they don't really like. No. You know, they'll just do because they know that out of necessity.
Yeah,
that's at the base level, you know.
Yeah, and I've got friends, like I'm pretty fortunate, especially like working in government, you do get other benefits that friends of mine don't, and you'll see them, their kids go into after school care after school. Someone can't pick up. There's no house to go to at 3 o'clock. Of course there's no house to go to at 3 o'clock. Most people work till 5. Like it's this, we're very fortunate that we have family members around there who can help, and it just depends on your situation, right? And it's very unfair the way the system is set up, that it isn't more flexible. Everybody came from a parent. Why isn't it? You know, it just, I don't know.
Takes a village to raise a child.
100%. It's not just the parent's responsibility. And that's what going on teaching before made me think of people like, oh, homework, why do I have to do? That's why we send her to school. And hang on, no. Your job is to raise your child and educate your child. The teacher's helping you in that task. They're not doing it for you.
Exactly.
It's not a mechanic fixing your car.
Yeah.
They're adding elements. You build on those elements, or, you know, like, I don't know. It is. And, nurses and teachers, man, like the hardest job.
Tough gigs, man. I have people often say to me, oh, you teachers and all your holidays. And I'm like, sure, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
Do it. Go.
Yeah.
And then I hear people like when it comes to school holidays, like, oh, God, the kids are at home. I don't know what to do with them. It's so exhausting. Can't wait till they get back to school. But one thing I want to mention, last thing, there's this really, I guess, stupid Adam Sandler movie called Click.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now it's just a cheesy Hollywood movie. But I must admit, that movie has got a pretty gnarly underlying message in relation to what you're saying.
Oh, really? I've never actually watched it.
I know, because you probably go, this is just a cheesy Adam Sandler movie, but it sums up what you were talking about.
Oh, really?
Perfectly. Well, it's like he has this remote control and he's busy with his family and it's become some magic remote control and he's like, I just want to break from the family so he can pause his family and then do whatever he wants. Then the remote control malfunctions and started fast forwarding him through his life. And next thing you know, he's missed a year of his kid's life.
Oh, okay.
2 years, and then he's an old man, and the kids are all grown up, and his wife left him because he just wasn't present.
Yeah.
And, look, I know, and it's pretty actually confronting. It's cheesy, but caught me off guard.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, something to think about. Check it out.
I'll have to watch it.
Watch it with the missus.
Yeah. Look, man, Adam Sandler, is it a serious one or is it actually trying to be a comedy?
I've heard
Because he makes good serious movies.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
his comedies suck.
It is a serious one. It started off as it's got elements of humor, and then it's like, this is actually deadly serious.
Yeah, well, his last two ones are Uncut Diamonds, and then there was the other one, the basketball one, which I watched twice in a week.
Is it good?
Yeah, they're amazing.
I've never seen him.
Yeah, he makes good serious movies.
Does he?
Yeah, but apart from Happy Gilmore, his comedies all suck. and I'll say that, I don't care. Like, throw heat.
Should I watch that Uncut Diamonds one?
Uncut Diamonds is sick.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to think, I'm a basketball fan, so the other one I really enjoyed. Like, he's a big basketball fan too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think he produced them as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but, yeah. Uncut Diamonds is really good.
Right, I'll check it out for sure. Did you watch The Last Stand docuseries, Jordan?
Yeah.
That's a few years old now.
Yeah, well, I remember watching that during the pandemic, actually.
You said you went through a bit of a rough patch in the pandemic, like most people. What triggered that?
Elka was born right, and my youngest was born right at the start. So we brought her home. We didn't have restrictions in the hospital, brought her home, and we were straight into lockdown.
Yeah.
And so it was I remember I had some depression after Emmy was born, my eldest, and then I think I'd say it's just that change and just everything. It's very emotional, and I don't deal with that stuff real well. And then I had a couple of projects fall through, but I didn't have heaps. There was definitely artists got hammered and feel for artists and everything and musicians through that time. I was still able to go to work every day because I was considered an essential worker, even though a lot of the time the national parks were freaking closed. But yeah, it was just tough. It was having like 2 kids and everything, and the whole world's thrown on its head. And then I guess I just went through an emotional time. It was depressive, but I used that to really look deep into art practice and what I was doing and what I really wanted to do and what made me happy. And so I don't see it as, I see it as in a positive thing for me. And I think a lot of artists did get a lot of positivity out of that time because it was that reflective thing. But man, I'm so fortunate. A lot of people ended up a lot worse than that,
Oh, dude, it was, in hindsight, like, I feel like people are now just like coming to terms with what actually happened to us in that 2-year period.
Yeah. When people would talk about Elka, say, oh, she was a COVID baby, but I don't think it affected her too much because she was a child. But yeah, I think my eldest, it probably affected her more. She was in kindergarten.
Same, my daughter was the same.
Yeah, so it would have been the same. So I think that was bigger. And then I think of like 17, 18-year-olds, that it must have been just devastating.
Well, you know, it's a really good point, that one, man, because I had recently had a musician on here from that hip-hop band The Herd, Tim Levinson, Earth Boy. Yeah. And he's saying that the knock-on effect of COVID's really happening now with live music gigs. But he attributes it to all those teenagers that were graduating high school, and then that's when they start that rite of passage of going to festivals and live music gigs. They couldn't do any of that. And it's actually changed the culture. And now there's this whole generation coming through that just don't really understand going to music festivals and live gigs, and they're not doing it as much.
No way.
Yeah. So he's like, I've never seen it. Like, he's been in the music industry for 25 years. And he's like, it's crazy. And he has that a label, he's a managing director of Elephant Tracks, and they sign all these other Australian artists like Hermitude and Horror Show. And he's just like, we're just not getting the numbers.
Wow.
And it's like he thinks it's because of the
flow
culture got
on.
changed
Yeah.
by COVID.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was, the young adult was the one who got affected.
That's good call. And you said, and then now you've said it again. I was like, there you go. Phew, it's good, man.
It's heavy.
How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Anything you want to add? You want to wrap it up soon?
Yeah, I think so. It's been good, hey. Yeah.
So look, let's just
I guess if anything, just
tell us about your art show.
Yeah, the exhibition. That was the whole point.
Oh, kind of. yeah.
So have an exhibition in May at Bad News Gallery in Wollongong.
Crown
really
Street,
good.
Wollongong, New South Wales,
yeah.
Australia, about 1 hour south of Sydney.
Yeah. So the legends there at Bad News Gallery have been holding down a gallery for a bit now, which isn't easy. But it's the same. It's the same kind of crowd running Wonderwalls and through Simon Grant and Brett Randall, and just the Wollongong creative community has always been really tight-knit and supportive, which is super, super mad. So fortunate to feel a part of that.
Yeah.
But these works I've been working on for, I said, years. Like, I've just been plugging away and working at my technique, and kind of have really dialed in on detail and really enjoying that. And it's one of those things I've been really, struggling with. And as I said, that piece there, I completely repainted it because of the progression. So it's been a while. I've been working on all these paintings. I finally feel like they're ready to be shown. So I'm pretty excited. It's not like a show to try and make money or to sell heaps of art. It's more just to put paintings on the wall, and if anything, it's a selfish thing. It's for myself. I actually hate opening night of a solo show. I've only done it a couple of times, but it's the fucking pits. I hate it because I don't like attention. That's not why I paint. So I love a group show. Group shows are awesome because you get to see other people's works and you get to celebrate everybody. I don't like, it feels very vain doing a solo show, but it's just part of being an artist, like of being a visual artist, presenting the work.
Does it come with a little anxiety as well?
Just from small talk, man.
Are people gonna show up, or you get that sort of worry?
Not anymore.
Okay.
No. In the past I would have, but no, not anymore. As I said, the people whose opinions matter to me, that's I'm interested to see what they say. But I love criticism. So I love getting my daughter out here and go, what doesn't look right? What don't you like? Don't tell me what works, because the children are so friggin' honest, right? So if she's like, that doesn't look quite right, I'm like, thank you, I thought so, right? So I love constructive criticism. So if people come and say they don't like the work, then it's like, why? Please tell me, because I want to get better. Right?
Okay, so you also see it as an opportunity for progression.
100%. And as I said, it's a stepping stone. It's like, put that show out there. It's a stepping stone. And as like, it's that thing I've always thought, but Rick Rubin talks about as well, is like, let it go so you can go to the next thing. There's nothing more exciting than having like a blank canvas in front of you or a blank wall, because you're just like, yes, I get to just tuck into this. It's near the end of a painting. That's what sucks. And you're just struggling to get it finished so you can pack it up and start the next one.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, it's not about, I can't wait to finish this so I can post it and get heaps of likes. Like, that's not the motivation. So yeah, that's, for me, it's just that exciting thing about just getting it on the wall. And
is that part of the letting go process?
100%.
Sick, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of that letting go. And it's also trying, like, I definitely do care. It's funny, like, the people that I love getting respect the most from is graffiti artists. When a graffiti artist says they like my work, it's the best compliment in the fucking world, because to me, I could never, I've toyed with graffiti. It's something I struggle with. I have so much respect for the graffiti culture and so much for what they do. And working on mural festivals or working with guys who just have that can control, who just have that just knowledge of color and just all that, to me, is what I respect so much. So yeah, the best would be if like there's a few graph heads turn up and say they like my shit. I'll be like, all right, I don't give a shit what anyone else says.
Because they're staunch critics, eh?
I don't know if there's so much staunch critics. I think it's just that I respect their culture so much, and respect their community and respect their opinion, because I respect their skills and their talent and what they do. And I think a lot of people from outside don't understand. Like, they'll probably look at me paint a mural and go, but that's way better. And I was like, oh, yeah, but look at that line he made there. I can't make that line. He can learn that. And I've seen graffiti artists go from graffiti to murals and to fine art, and they already have color theory. They already have technique. They already know all these things. It's a lot easier for them. It'd be like, a bodyboarder learning to surf from a guy who's only ever skated learning to surf. Yeah. The bodyboarder already knows how to ride a wave or read the ocean and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is hard.
It's kind of a bad way to explain it.
That's a perfect way, I think.
Yeah.
Skating doesn't translate into surfing.
No. Maybe more snowboarding, but then a skier is probably going to pick up snowboarding quicker than a skater, right?
There you go. Yeah, okay.
I got sidetracked there, but yeah, for me, the criticism and everything like that, just, if no one turns up, that's cool. Just hanging them on that wall. The moment before it opens, that's what I'm going to enjoy the most, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's getting it done and just working on something. It's fun hanging it on the wall.
Yeah, and you're not playing
a bit
it safe.
weird,
You're not
like-
playing it safe.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to like get it up and especially being in this little studio, I can't just hang the works up and see how it's going to look.
Yeah.
So it's all in my head, so you got to kind of, is this going to work? And that's why I say I've actually got more art than I need for the space. So I can actually take stuff up and go, no, that's not going to work. Cull.
Yeah.
Use that for something else. Or paint over it. So, yeah.
Well, I'll put links in this episode's show notes to the Bad News Gallery and some of Kane's work, the artist known as Trait. But go and see his art show at the Bad News Gallery in May.
May, yep, first week in May. So 2nd of May will be opening night. Yeah, on a Thursday night, and then it'll run for, I guess, in a week.
Epic.
Yeah.
Go and check it out and be part of his letting go process.
Yeah. Yep, sure.
right.
Thanks, Shannon.
Mr. Kane Horspool, everyone. Trait. Yes, sir.
Cheers, boss.